On October 6th, I made a video saying, be careful, Tudor, because that's how they hand you the bill. And if things keep going this way, they're going to hand him the bill because he's getting in line to wait. He's on the waiting list, standing in line waiting for them to bring him the bill because Como deservedly wins, showing all their organization, all their quality. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Juve is a constant no-show and not a real team with zero ideas, the result of the arrogance of an arrogant coach whom I haven't criticized up to now, except to tell him to wake up, be careful, because you haven't given any direction, because the team isn't that bad. And I think there's a broader issue to discuss about instability, managerial instability, all these changes that, as I said in a previous video, don't lead to any certainties. First you're here, then you're there. First you're the general manager, then you become the sporting director, now you become the CEO, then you leave, then the president stays, then you leave again. I believe that these things have a big impact in a football context and that they leave their mark. And then, of course, there's the pitch, there's what the coach is supposed to give you, there's this squad that has suddenly become weak all of a sudden, and there are also the rather pointed statements from the coach who, before the Como match, says, "Who told you we would play with four at the back?" As if the problem was challenging the journalists rather than giving Juventus some semblance of a playing style, which is not about losing the first match of the season. Because Napoli has lost two, Inter had lost two, and the real issue is understanding how you're set up, how you are on the pitch. Are you standing? Are you sitting? Are you playing vertically? Are you playing horizontally? Do you always have the same ideas? Do you keep insisting, or rather, do you keep playing the same non-game? Do you keep insisting on the same tedious pattern? Also, honestly, speaking as an average observer, having to watch Seisao every time doing these dribbles to try to creating a numerical advantage is fine every now and then, but very often it's not. It's rather tedious and shows you exactly where we stand. There were technical errors in industrial quantities, something impossible and unacceptable. Locatelli in midfield cannot be the reference point for Juve. I've been saying this for a while now, with all due respect. If you have Tonali or another phenomenon next to him, maybe we can talk. If he's the one who has to do it, then we can't talk. We keep insisting on this thing about Coop Miners, who, by the way, was more lively than expected today, but these are small and trivial details compared to a team that lacks the basics of play, organization, staying compact, pushing the defensive line higher, not conceding stupid goals, trying to react without relying on individuals, and putting the forwards in a position to actually play as forwards. And I have to say that all these things, the accountability shouldn't be presented to the stadium bartender or to the person in charge of the Continasa office. The accountability needs to be presented to the coach, who even today in his revisions starts from certain convictions that are his and his alone. I repeat, you have to change something, you have to play with two forwards, you have to make sure the team has a system so that it can't be either on this side with Seisao or on the other with Ilvis. Very often it's done in an overly affected way, because if you only play down the wings, it becomes quite complicated to think you won't be predictable or to save individual players, or else you end up drowning. In fact, all the matches that Juventus has won or come back in have been the result of chance. No one should take offense, because the draw with Atalanta and the situations with Juventus and Inter were just two incidents. But you've never won by trying to understand or by conveying week after week what concept. The idea of being a team that's growing and destined to make use of the squad they have, which I repeat, in my opinion, isn't bad. To be a squad, to have a style of play, a philosophy. As a counterproof, let's look at the other side. Now, already yesterday I was quite struck by some of Tudor's statements when he said that Como is a team that on paper is a small club but spends as much as a big one, and there's not much more to say about that. Then he says, but above all, there's a coach who's good at getting the players he asks for. Honestly, this seemed a bit like a dig to me. Maybe I misunderstood, but it seemed like a jab at those who don't get him the players he needs. I'll give you an example. Colombo Ani came to mind, whom Tudor would have absolutely kept. He was his first choice. But just because they don't buy back Colombo Ani, because suddenly the conditions change and they get strikers who have done well everywhere, it doesn't mean you can teach anti-football. So, Juventus is drowning in Como and above all drowning in the coach's arrogance. There's no doubt about that. a match that should be reviewed at Continassa together with the entire management, in the hope that Juventus can find peace and stability even among its people. These things, I repeat, also have an impact on organizational matters from a technical point of view because they create excuses for the players. Every 5 minutes there are changes, every 3 months there are changes, but then there's the pitch. And I have to say that by rewatching the match at Continassa, Tudor could even take inspiration and learn from Fabregas how to organize a team. Now, if Voivoda has suddenly become Roberto Carlos, credit goes to Voivoda but also to Fabregas for giving him completely different responsibilities compared to what he had at Torino. Certainly, they often spend money on the market, but Juventus has spent money too. However, if you spend money and let a rookie drive a luxury car, clearly it's better not to spend it at all. If you spend money and let a luxury car be driven by an imaginative driver, a visionary who knows how to go fast on the straight but also how to overtake skillfully in the corners, who knows how to use Nico Paz directly without always playing him out wide, giving all the midfielders specific roles, playing on the wings when it's necessary to play on the wings, but not just going wide to showcase individual flair. Exactly what Juve is doing right now. Either they burn you with Seisao or they pull off a play like Ildiz. The forwards are never put in a position to strike. If this is what you call organization, I would call it an inability to organize a team. I repeat, up to now I haven't avoided criticizing Tudor. I've even joked about certain things. But remember, today we're almost at the end of October. On October 6th, in a video, which I might even replay, I told him, be careful because if you keep going like this, you'll have to pay the price. It would have been the right thing to do, and above all, it would have been important for morale, for the mood, and to take advantage of Roma and Napoli's defeats to catch up with the three teams at 15 points, but Juve missed the chance. It would have been even more important, especially considering that now we're about to play at none other than the Bernabeu, and the next match is against Lazio. I have the impression that in these two matches, and within these two matches, we should try to read into what the moods and frustrations will be, not just for Tudor, but for those who are forced to endure a situation that, in my view, is unsustainable. Because you can lose when you're organized, but you can't lose when you're arrogant. So it's not the first defeat, it's the way it happened that's a warning sign. Do you have to win? Of course, you can't go a month without winning. Sure, you can also go a month without winning, absolutely. But you can also not win if you show that you're organized. Congratulations to Como and to Nico Paz because Nico is crazy. And as a verb, he's crazy. He's a genius. He's the new force on the rise, the new one who has established himself and will continue to do so. Congratulations, especially to those who managed to build the team by entrusting it to a leader. See you soon. I look forward to your opinions. Have a good day. Thank you.